Imagine a moment, a defining moment, where your voice could change everything, but you choose to stay silent. Not out of malice, not out of indifference, but because silence feels safer, because words feel like a risk, because maybe, just maybe, someone else will speak up instead. But what if no one does? What if your silence isn't just an absence of sound, but an absence of courage, of love, of responsibility? What if your silence is the very thing deepening someone's wounds, confirming their fears, or making them feel invisible? We like to believe that staying quiet keeps us out of the storm, that it's not our fight, not our business. But when you see injustice and look away, when you witness pain and say nothing, when you have the power to make someone feel seen but choose comfort over connection, you're not just avoiding conflict, you're making a choice, and that choice has consequences. There is someone right now, someone close to you who is struggling, who is drowning in self-doubt, who is replaying hurtful words in their mind, who is wondering if they matter at all. And they don't need you to have all the answers. They don't need you to fix everything. They just need to know they're not alone. And that is something your voice can give. Because silence doesn't protect you from responsibility. It hands responsibility to someone else and hopes they'll carry what you were too afraid to hold. But the truth is, the world doesn't just need the loud voices, the confident ones, the ones who have it all figured out. It needs you. The hesitant, the unsure, the ones who are scared to speak but do it anyway. Because courage isn't the absence of fear. It's choosing to show up even when your voice shakes. So if there is someone in your life waiting for a sign that they are valued, let your words be that sign. If there is a moment calling for truth, don't let your silence be the answer. If you have a chance to remind someone that they are seen, that they are heard, that they matter, take it. Because the cost of silence is far greater than the risk of speaking. And your words, they might just be the thing that saves someone. There's a moment in life when you realize that your silence is not just an absence of words, it's an action, a choice, a decision that carries weight, even when you don't intend for it to. Think about the people in your life, the ones you care about, the ones who have been there for you in ways they may never even realize. Now imagine one of them struggling. Maybe they're battling self-doubt, maybe they feel lost, maybe they're waiting for someone, anyone, to notice that they're not okay. And there you are watching, feeling the pull to say something, but you don't. Not because you don't care, but because you don't know what to say, because you think your words won't be enough, because you assume someone else will step in. But what if no one does? What if your silence is the confirmation of their worst fears, that they don't matter, that no one sees them, that no one cares enough to speak? What if the very thing they needed to hear was locked inside you, held back by hesitation, by uncertainty, by fear? Silence is powerful. It can build walls between people who were once inseparable. It can create distance where there should have been closeness. It can echo louder than any words ever could, reinforcing pain rather than relieving it. And the hardest truth of all, the moments when we choose to stay silent are often the moments when our voice is needed the most. You don't have to have the perfect words. You don't have to have all the answers. You just have to be willing to show up, to say, I see you, I hear you, you are not alone. Because sometimes a single sentence can be the lifeline someone is desperately searching for. Life is full of moments where we get to decide, do we step up or do we step back? Do we speak or do we stay silent? And while silence may feel safe in the moment, its impact is far-reaching. So when you have the chance to remind someone of their worth, when you have the opportunity to replace loneliness with connection, take it. Because your silence may be hurting them more than you think. There's something extraordinary about the power of a single voice. A few words spoken at the right time can change the course of someone's life. Yet too often we hold back, underestimating the impact we have. We convince ourselves that our voice won't make a difference, that someone else's words will matter more, that silence is the safer choice. But the truth is, your voice carries more weight than you realize. Think about a time when someone's words lifted you, changed your perspective, or made you feel seen. Maybe it was a simple, I believe in you when you were doubting yourself. Maybe it was a reassuring, I'm here for you when the world felt like it was closing in. Maybe it was a moment when you were struggling and someone reminded you that you weren't alone. Those words mattered. They stayed with you. They became a light in a dark moment. Now, flip the perspective. What if you are that person for someone else? What if your words could be the reason someone keeps going? What if your voice is the one they're waiting for, the one that reminds them they have value, that they are not invisible, that their presence in this world makes a difference? What if the thing holding them together isn't their own strength, but the belief that someone, somewhere, cares enough to say something? We underestimate the way a single sentence, a small moment of acknowledgement, can become a turning point for someone who is drowning in doubt. And it doesn't have to be grand, it doesn't have to be a perfect speech. Sometimes the simplest words hold the most power. You matter. I see you. I'm proud of you. These aren't just phrases, they are lifelines. But When we choose silence, when we let hesitation win, when we allow fear to dictate our actions, we rob someone of the reassurance they might desperately need. We let them sit in their pain, their doubt, their loneliness, believing no one cares enough to speak, and that is a tragedy we have the power to prevent. Your voice can be the difference between someone giving up or holding on, between feeling forgotten or feeling loved, between a life filled with doubt or one filled with hope. So don't silence yourself. Don't assume your words don't matter, because somewhere, someone needs to hear them more than you think. We tell ourselves that staying quiet keeps us safe, that if we don't say anything, we can't make things worse. But silence isn't neutral. It isn't a shield that protects us from the hard parts of life. It's a decision, one that has real consequences, whether we intend it to or not. When you see someone struggling, when you witness injustice, when you feel the weight of unspoken words pressing against your chest, you are standing at a crossroads. One path is easy. Look away, say nothing, pretend it's not your battle to fight. The other path? It's uncomfortable. It requires courage. It demands that you step into the unknown, risk being misunderstood, risk saying the wrong thing. And so often we choose silence, convincing ourselves that it's not our responsibility. But what if it is? What if your silence isn't just avoiding conflict, but allowing pain to grow? What if, by choosing not to speak, you are unknowingly validating someone's deepest fears? That no one cares, that they are truly alone, that their struggles aren't worth acknowledging? What if, in trying to stay out of it, you are making it worse? The truth is, silence is never just an absence of words. It's a message. And when someone is hurting, that message can be deafening. It says, I see your pain, but I'm not willing to acknowledge it. It says, your struggle is real, but it's not my problem. It says, you are alone in this. And that can be more painful than any harsh words ever spoken. You don't have to have the perfect response. You don't have to fix everything, but you do have to care enough to show up. A simple acknowledgement, a small act of kindness, and I'm here for you can shatter the isolation that silence creates. So it can remind someone that they are seen, that they are valued, that they are not fighting this battle alone. So the next time you feel the urge to step back, to hold your words inside, to convince yourself that it's not your place, ask yourself this. If it were you struggling, would you want silence, or would you want someone to remind you that you are not alone? Because in the end, the words you choose not to say may be the ones that someone needed to hear the most. Right now, someone in your life is struggling. Maybe they haven't said it out loud. Maybe they've mastered the art of the fake smile, the casual I'm fine, the quiet withdrawal that no one questions. Maybe they sit beside you every day waiting for someone, anyone, to notice that behind the laughter, behind the routine, behind the everything is okay facade, they are barely holding on. We often assume that if someone needs help, they'll ask, that if they're hurting, they'll say something. But pain doesn't always come with a warning sign. Sometimes it shows up in silence, in subtle changes, in the moments we overlook. And the reality is, the people who need us the most are often the ones least likely to reach out. Not because they don't want support, but because they don't want to be a burden, because they think no one will care, because they're afraid that if they do speak up, their pain will be met with more silence. And this is where we fail the people we love, not because we don't care, but because we assume they already know we do. We think our presence is enough. We think they'll just magically understand that we're here for them. But how will they know if we never say it? How will they believe it if our silence convinces them otherwise? It doesn't take much to remind someone they are not alone. A message, a moment, a hey, I see you, a you don't have to go through this alone. These words might seem small to you, but to someone drowning in doubt, they are life rafts. They are proof that someone is paying attention, that someone cares enough to reach out, that their existence is not just background noise in someone else's world. But when we choose silence, when we assume they're fine, when we brush past the warning signs, when we let our discomfort keep us from speaking, we leave them to fight battles we may never fully understand. And sometimes the weight of that loneliness is far greater than the pain itself. So look around. Pay attention. That friend who's been quieter than usual. That family member who seems distant. That person who used to light up the room but now seems lost in the background. Don't wait for them to ask for help, because they might never do it. Be the person who notices. Be the voice that interrupts their silence, because right now someone in your life is struggling, and your words might be the very thing that reminds them they are not alone. There's this pressure we put on ourselves, the idea that if we're going to say something, it has to be perfect, that we need the right words, the right timing, the right wisdom to truly make a difference. And because we don't always know what to say, we say nothing at all. But here's the truth. People don't need you to have all the answers. They don't need the perfect speech or the most profound advice. They just need to know that someone cares enough to say something, Think about the hardest moments of your life. The times when you felt lost, when everything felt too heavy, when you weren't sure how to move forward. Did you need someone to fix it all for you, or did you just need to know that you weren't alone in it, that someone saw you, heard you, stood beside you, even when they didn't fully understand? We convince ourselves that our words won't be enough, that unless we can solve the problem, there's no point in speaking. But silence doesn't heal, it isolates. And in that isolation, pain grows. When someone is struggling, they don't need a solution as much as they need connection. They need to hear, I see you. I don't know exactly what you're going through, but I'm here. You don't have to do this alone. These are not grand world-changing statements. They are simple, but simplicity is powerful because at the end of the day, what people crave is not perfection, but presence. And your presence, your willingness to show up, even in uncertainty, is far more powerful than any perfectly crafted sentence could ever be. So stop waiting to have the right words. Stop letting fear hold you back, because the words you think are small, the words you think won't matter, might be the very ones that save someone. And in a world that so often chooses silence, your willingness to speak, however imperfectly, is exactly what someone needs to hear. We live in a world that often makes us believe our voice isn't enough. That if we're not the loudest in the room, if we don't have the perfect words, if we aren't overflowing with confidence, then maybe we should just stay quiet. But that is a lie. The world doesn't just need the bold voices, the ones who speak without hesitation. It needs the quiet ones, the hesitant ones, the ones who speak not because they love the sound of their own voice, but because they care enough to say something even when it scares them. It needs you. How many times have you felt something in your heart, an urge to encourage, to check in, to speak up, but you swallowed the words because you thought they wouldn't matter? How many moments have you stayed silent, convincing yourself that someone else would step in? But what if they don't? What if the words you held back were the very ones someone needed to hear? You don't have to be the loudest person in the room to make an impact. You don't have to have perfect confidence. You just have to be willing to use your voice when it counts. And what counts? It's when you see someone struggling and choose to reach out. It's when you witness something wrong and refuse to look away. It's when you decide that even if your voice shakes, even if your words aren't perfect, you will not let silence be your answer. Because silence is easy. But easy doesn't change lives. Easy doesn't let people know they are seen, heard, valued. The world doesn't need more people waiting for the perfect moment to speak. It needs more people willing to speak despite their doubts. You are needed. Your voice is needed. And the impact of your words goes far beyond what you may ever know. So don't let fear keep you silent. Speak even if your voice shakes, because someone somewhere is waiting to hear exactly what you have to say. Courage is often misunderstood. We think it belongs only to the fearless, the strong, the ones who never hesitate, never doubt. But that's not courage. Courage isn't the absence of fear. It's the decision to act despite it. It's choosing to step forward even when your hands shake, even when your voice wavers, even when your heart pounds so loudly you think everyone can hear it. How many times have you stayed silent because fear told you to? Fear of saying the wrong thing, fear of being judged, fear of stepping into something uncomfortable. But here's what fear won't tell you. Your silence is also a choice. A choice that could leave someone feeling unseen, unheard, and alone. The hardest moments in life aren't the ones where we don't know what to say. They're the ones where we know exactly what needs to be said, but fear convinces us to keep quiet. It's in those moments that courage matters most. Not the kind of courage that comes easy, but the kind that comes in whispers, in small acts, in a decision to speak up even when it would be easier to stay silent. Because here's the truth, someone in your life is waiting for a voice to break through the silence. It doesn't have to be loud, it doesn't have to be perfect, it just has to be yours. Maybe it's a friend who's struggling but too afraid to say it. Maybe it's a family member who needs to hear I'm proud of you. Maybe it's a stranger who just needs a reminder that kindness still exists in the world. You don't have to be fearless to speak up. You don't have to have all the answers. You just have to care enough to say something, even when it scares you. Because in the end, silence is easy, but it's also empty. And when someone is hurting, when someone needs to hear that they are not alone, your courage to speak could be the very thing that makes all the difference. Silence is often mistaken for safety. We tell ourselves that if we don't say anything, we can't make things worse. That if we just stay quiet, everything will work itself out. But what we fail to realize is that silence isn't neutral. It has weight, it has impact, and sometimes it hurts far more than words ever could. Imagine someone in your life who is struggling, truly struggling. Maybe they've been distant, maybe their smiles don't reach their eyes anymore, maybe they've started withdrawing in ways that seem small but feel significant. You notice it, you feel it, and yet you say nothing, not because you don't care, but because you don't know what to say, because you're afraid of saying the wrong thing, because you assume they'll come to you if they need help. But what if they don't? What if your silence is the thing that convinces them no one sees them? What if it makes them believe their pain isn't worth acknowledging? What if they take your quiet as proof that they are truly alone? Because here's the hard truth. When someone is hurting, silence doesn't feel like kindness. It feels like abandonment. Words have the power to heal, to comfort, to remind someone they are not invisible. But when we withhold them, when we let our fear of discomfort outweigh our willingness to care, we allow pain to deepen. We allow people to slip further into isolation, and in doing so, we send an unspoken message that we never intended. You are not worth the effort it takes to speak up. But that is a lie. They are worth it. And so are you. Because your words, no matter how small, no matter how imperfect, can be the very thing that pulls someone back from the edge. A simple, I see you. A quiet, I'm here for you. A gentle, you don't have to go through this alone. These are not just words, they are lifelines, and they carry more power than you could ever imagine. So the next time you feel the urge to stay silent, ask yourself this. If it were you in their place, would you want silence? Or would you want someone to remind you that you matter? Because in the end, silence is not just the absence of words. It is the absence of connection. And no one deserves to feel that alone. Regret is a heavy thing to carry, and the worst kind of regret isn't about the things we said, it's about the things we didn't. The moments we let pass by, the opportunities we missed to remind someone they mattered, the words we held back because we thought we had more time. But time doesn't wait, and neither do the people who need us. We assume that those we care about already know how we feel, that they understand our silence, that they can somehow feel the words we never say. But the truth is, people can't read our hearts. They only hear what we tell them. They only feel what we express. And when we choose silence, when we assume they don't need to hear from us, we risk letting them walk away, never knowing how much they meant to us. Think about this. How many times have you wished you had spoken up? How many times have you lost someone either to distance or to life itself and thought, I should have said more. I should have told them what they meant to me. I should have let them know I was there. That kind of regret stays with you because once the moment is gone, you don't get it back. Once the chance to speak disappears, silence becomes permanent. So don't wait. Don't assume. If you care about someone, tell them. If you see someone struggling, reach out. If you appreciate someone, let them know. Don't let fear or hesitation rob you of the chance to make someone feel valued, because the words you hold back today may be the words you wish you had said tomorrow. The people in your life need to hear from you. Not someday, not when the moment feels perfect, but now. Because love, support, and kindness were never meant to be kept silent. They were meant to be spoken, shared, felt. And you have the power to make sure no one in your life ever has to wonder how much they matter. Don't let silence be the thing you regret. Let your words be the thing they remember. Silence is easy. It asks nothing of us. It keeps us in our comfort zones, away from confrontation, away from vulnerability, away from the risk of saying the wrong thing. But silence also carries a weight we often fail to acknowledge, the weight of what goes unsaid, of what could have been, of the people we lose, not because we didn't care, but because we didn't show it. Every day we have the chance to make a difference in someone's life, not through grand gestures or perfect words, but through simple moments of acknowledgement, through a message that says, I see you, through a conversation that reminds someone they are not alone, through a willingness to step beyond our own discomfort and give someone the gift of being heard. And yet, so often, we hold back. We assume people already know we care. We convince ourselves they will reach out if they need us. We let fear and hesitation dictate our actions, forgetting that silence itself is a message, one that can be more painful than words ever could be. Think about the people in your life right now, the ones you love, the ones who cross your path every day, the ones who may be struggling in ways they'll never say out loud. What do they need to hear from you? What words have you been holding back? What encouragement, what gratitude, what support has been left unspoken simply because you assumed they already knew? No one should have to wonder if they are valued. No one should have to question whether they are seen. No one should have to face their battles alone simply because the world around them chose silence instead of support. And you have the power to make sure they don't. You have the ability to change someone's day, someone's perspective, maybe even someone's life, just by choosing to speak when silence feels easier. So don't wait. Don't assume. Don't let the moment pass you by. Speak up, say the words, offer the kindness, let the people in your life know they are not alone, because in the end, we are not remembered for the silence we kept. We are remembered for the love we gave, the support we offered, and the words that reminded someone they met. And that is the kind of impact that lasts forever.